यस, नाउ द रिकॉर्डिंग हैज स्टार्टेड। अरोड़ा जी को क्या प्रॉब्लम है? ओके, 1 मिनट 1 मिनट। ओके, एम आई ऑडिबल क्लियरली? एम आई ऑडिबल? ओके ओके ओके, सो देयर वाज सम इशू विद माय लैपटॉप, सॉरी। शेयर, या। So we had started this new chapter, Kurukshetra, last time, and couple of memorable sentences from that. One was of war is the father of all things, said Heraclitus. We gave the example of the internet for that, how it started as ARPANET as a project of the US Department of Defense. That was one example given. And basically, kind of this line from Savitri sums it up. It is the inner war without escape, and the nature of existence being that there is a struggle of forces, and that is how the evolution happens. Essentially, this is what it is. But just for the sake of continuity, I feel we'll just read the previous paragraph. Ancient thought accepted the starting point, right? So, Archana ji, would you please read that?
Ancient thought accepted the starting point so far as it could see it by scrutiny of the universe. The old Upanishads saw it very clearly and phrased it with an uncompromising thoroughness, which will have nothing to do with any honeyed glosses or optimistic scuttlings of the truth. Hunger, that is death, they said, is the creator and master of this world, and they figured vital existence in the image of the horse of the horse of the sacrifice. Matter they describe by a name which means ordinarily food, and they said, we call it food because it is devoured and devours creatures. The eater eating is eaten. This is the formula of the material world, as the Darwinians rediscovered when they laid it down that the struggle for life is the law of evolutionary existence. Modern science has only rephrased the old truths that had already been expressed in much more forcible, wide, and accurate formulas by the apothegms of Heraclitus and the figures employed by the Upanishads.
Right. Thank you. Ashanaya Mrityu. That was the Sanskrit equivalent for hunger, that is death, from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Mm. Yeah, I had given all the quotations necessary, jo the, all that I had shared here and all that I had referred. So one can go through them if one has not. We can read from the next one. Who will read? Srinivas ji, will you read the next one? Nietzsche's insistence upon war,
Sure.
please.
Nietzsche's insistence upon war as an aspect of life and the ideal man as a warrior. The camel man he may be to begin with, and the child man hereafter, but the lion man he must become in the middle if he is to attain his perfection. These now much decried theories of Nietzsche have, however much we may differ from many of the moral and practical conclusions he drew from them, their undeniable justification and recall us to a truth we like to hide out of sight. It is good that we should be reminded of it. First, because to see it has for every strong soul a tonic effect which saves us from the flabbiness and relaxation encouraged by too mellifluous philosophic, religious, or ethical sentimentalism, that which loves to look upon nature as love and life and beauty and good, but turns away from her grim mask of death, adoring God as Shiva but refusing to adore him as Rudra. Secondly, because unless we have the honesty and courage to look existence straight in the face, we shall never arrive at any effective solution of its discords and oppositions. We must see first what life and the world are. Afterwards, we can all the better set about finding the right way to transform them into what they should be. If this repellent aspect of existence holds in itself some secret of the final harmony, we shall, by ignoring or belittling it, miss that secret, and all our efforts at a solution will fail by fault of our self-indulgent ignoring of the true elements of the problem. If, on the other hand, it is an enemy to be beaten down, trampled on, excised, eliminated, still we gain nothing by underrating its power and hold upon life, or refusing to see how firmly it is rooted in the effective past and the actual operative principles of existence.
Right. Thank you. So, meanwhile, okay, we'll start first. Nietzsche's insistence upon war as an aspect of life and the ideal man as a warrior. The camel man he may be to begin with, and the child man hereafter. But the lion man he must become in the middle if he is to attain his perfection. These much decried theories of Nietzsche have, however much we differ from many of the moral and practical conclusions he drew from them, their undeniable justification and recall us to a truth we like to hide out of sight. So he's referring to the strength aspect in psychology, not just the innocence or the other things. I have, I must say, I mean, I have not read Nietzsche and I have not thought over this. So the only thing I remember as a reference, which may help to understand this sentence, is these two aphorisms from Sri Aurobindo, which I have pasted on the chat. Can everybody see them? Okay. So Nietzsche saw the Superman as the lion soul passing out of camelhood. But the true heraldic device and token of the Superman is the lion seated upon the camel which stands upon the cow of plenty. Okay, cow is supposed to be the thing of, okay, यहाँ पे कामधेनु की बात हो रही है. If thou canst not be the slave of all mankind, thou art not to be its master, and if thou canst not make thy nature as Vashishta's cow of plenty, there is another knowledge point here कि if you cannot make your nature as Vashishta's cow of plenty, with all mankind to draw its wish from her udders, what avails thy leonine supermanhood? So that is the decrying part. Okay, he was insisting because even there is a booklet called Superman by Sri Aurobindo. It was released during the Arya period. It has 3 essays. One of them, the essay is titled Superman. And there, because actually, the important point rather here is, I'll come to this also, what he's saying here. Ubermensch, Ubermensch. This was a German word probably coined by Nietzsche. Ritudi wants to say something. She has raised her hand. No. Okay. So that translates into English as Superman. But his idea of a Superman was basically one of that of strength. Okay. It was lacking the element of love and wisdom. It was more like the strong man, the strong race dominating the weaker races. And it is one of the reasons why Germany became so, ambitious, and it led to the 2 world wars. It's true. Any student of history can verify this, right? So that is one part. Okay, it's not just that you have to be, वो इससे related नहीं है जो हम पढ़ रहे थे, but since we read this, so I have to complete this thought also. Be to the world as the lion in fearlessness and lordship. Yes, this is what he's saying. This will help to understand this sentence from the Essays on the Gita. Be to the world as the lion in fearlessness and lordship. Now, if you see the 16th chapter of the Gita, which tells the Devic and the Asuric qualities, what is the first word that comes? Abhayam. For the divine qualities, there are 3 verses. Okay, just to again, create the mood of the session with the Sanskrit. Abhayam sattva samshuddhihi, jnana yoga vyavasthitihi, danam damascha yajnascha, swadhyayas tapa arjavam, ahimsa satyamakrodha, tyagah shantirapaishunam. Like this it goes, right? First word, abhayam. Okay, even for any kind of yoga, चाहे कोई भी yoga हो, Sri Aurobindo quotes Vivekananda, and he says Vivekananda used to say a yogi must be abhi. Abhi. Bhi means fear. Abhi is also one of the names of Shiva. So basically this fearlessness and this aspect of warring and fighting for the truth and for right wherever necessary. This is the point. Okay, fundamentally. So be to the world as the lion in fearlessness and lordship, as the camel in patience and service, as the cow in quiet forbearing and maternal beneficence. When I'm copying from the PDF, then some words are getting lost. Raven on all the joys of God as a lion over its play, blah, 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 right? This is, Thoughts on Aphorisms is a separate book for study. So usme jayenge to it will kind of interfere with the Gita study. But I will paste the comments of Mother also on this on the group, right? This was just because I was not really so familiar about this idea. So to help to understand, I shared this here, right? So it is good that we should be reminded of it. First, because to see it has for every strong soul a tonic effect. Now, yoga is not for the weaklings, okay? The Upanishad says clearly, Nayam Atma Balahinen Labhyo, Mundak Upanishad. This self is not to be attained by one who is balahina, जिसमें strength नहीं है. Okay? The unbaked jar breaks down. This is the Vedic phrase. If you're not strongly prepared in your Aadhar, you will break down. Which is why Sri Aurobindo's insistence, first build that base of peace, stillness, silence. That will give you the necessary strength to hold the divine Shakti when it comes into you. He says this in various ways. Who can bear Kali rushing into himself in her, violent godhead and something like this? Only the man whom Krishna already possesses. That strength. Of course, strength and silence can be related also. Strength can be that of Rajasic strength also, but that is not the true strength. That's never the true strength, right? So what is he saying? Because to see it for every has for every strong soul a tonic effect. This idea of the necessity of being a warrior as far as true evolution is concerned. It sounds not nice. Like I said, to feel love and oneness is the aim, it's the ultimate. And I quoted that, what Mother sent to the Indian Army in 1965, that it is Rudra who holds the world in the hollow of his hand. I even shared the quotation from the foundations of Indian culture. We are in the middle of a cultural war, he says. These are not the exact words, but that is what he means. Okay. So every person who wants to serve the truth, who wants to serve the divine, he has to take sides with the divine and the truth, the world as it is right now, and fight for the divine. In the inner level, as the inner warrior who fights against obscurity and falsehood, it is the inner war without escape. Essentially, this is the message here. I'll pause after a few more minutes to give room for discussion and all. It is good that we should be reminded of it first, because to see it has for every strong soul a tonic effect which saves us from the flabbiness. I've not done the root search, but flabbiness is like soft, okay? Soft, flabby, lagi raha hai. Very soft.
Flabby is fat.
Fat. Okay.
Fatty and that charbi type.
Charbi. Okay, let me see. What does Chambers say? This is a dictionary that Sri Aurobindo used to use. Flabbiness. But something got to do with basically kind of non-seriousness or flabbiness. Wait. So origin is flab, soft or yielding. Soft. That is the first meaning. This is the dictionary, Chambers. This is the app. I've heard that this is what Sri Aurobindo used to use. So I generally go back to this. Soft. आपका भी मीनिंग है ओवरवेट वाला है, but here I think what is meant is soft. A kind of softness which is not based on truth, which is based on a comfortable idea of truth, not the truth itself.
Actually, the meaning is the same. Whether you say soft or fat,
Yeah,
fat
yeah,
means
yeah,
charbi, but
yeah.
the spirit is still the same, that it is not the real thing.
Right, exactly. So, which saves us from the flabbiness and relaxation encouraged by a too mellifluous. Mellifluous is again, soft, that kind of thing.
Sweet
Yeah,
sounding.
sweet, soft, like that. Mellifluous philosophic, religious, or ethical sentimentalism, right? So it is very easy to just pay attention to the Krishna of Vrindavan, okay, or to the butter stealing Krishna and all that. But what about the Krishna of the Kurukshetra? That is just the beginning. That is just the first 11 years in Mathura and Vrindavan jo bhi hai. Then from Mathura he goes to Ujjain to study, right? So it won't do. Just that, lolly poly wala Krishna or usko karne ka. And this is something which a lot of us are doing either consciously or subconsciously a lot of time. So that warrior aspect of Krishna, that Kurukshetra, that battle of the world, what is my role in the battle of the world? What is my role? If I am truly a aspirant of the divine, seeker of the divine, how am I furthering consciously his purposes, his battles in the world? How am I furthering them consciously? Unconsciously or subconsciously, so everybody is doing, right? So, yeah. A too mellifluous philosophic, religious, or ethical sentimentalism, that which loves to look upon nature as love and life and beauty and good, which they are. It's not that they are not. But if you see only that side and refuse to see the other side, the grim side, but turns away from her grim mask of death. वो था ना last time, Kalosmi. I am Kala who has appeared here. Kalosmi lokakshaya krit pravriddha. लोकक्षय करने के लिए मैं प्रवृत्त हूं. I am engaged now for the destruction of these worlds. Right. But turns away from her grim mask of death, adoring God as Shiva. Shiva literally means good. In one word, if you want to say, Shiva, simplest word, it is good. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, the good, the true, the beautiful. The qualities which attract the psychic being and by following which the psychic being gets nourished and comes forward. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, right? God as Shiva, but refusing to adore him as Rudra. Rudra literally means the howler. जो रुला देता है, द हाउलर, दैट्स व्हाट द वर्ड लिटरली मीन्स. आई थिंक रोदनम जो शब्द है, क्राइंग, इट कम्स फ्रॉम द हाउल मीन्स टू क्राई लाउडली. रुद्र मीन्स द हाउलर. I mean, I don't remember the exact word, but something like this, the word is there in the Secret of the Veda, where he tells what Rudra means. So that destructive aspect, जो रुला देता है, right? Secondly, because unless we have the honesty and courage to look existence straight in the face, and which if we are not having, then we are not really sadhaks. We are only sadhaks in name otherwise, right? We shall never arrive at any effective solution of its discords and oppositions. To resolve discords and oppositions is not easy. Like Sri Aurobindo says in the Life Divine, the problem with this Mayavad philosophy, he says it cuts the knot. It cuts the knot. You don't have to cut the knot, you have to unravel the knot. Even if you have a knot in front of you, it's very easy to cut the knot. But it takes patience and perseverance and time and concentration to slowly unravel the knot. The knot has to be unraveled, not cut. That is not the solution. Right? So this is the idea. We shall never arrive at any effective solution of its discords and oppositions. Like Sri Aurobindo says, his whole thing, supermind jisko bolte hain, harmony. For all problems of existence are essentially problems of harmony. That truth consciousness, as he calls it, is the consciousness where no discords and oppositions exist. But we are on the way towards it, and the world will take much longer to go towards it. To pretend that it is already here. Yes, it is there at work. It is trying to create harmony. It is trying to create harmony. But just imagine if India didn't have nuclear weapons, if they didn't have the program in the Pokhran in the 70s and then in the 90s, late 90s, what would happen? The world is not ready for, I mean, it's all obvious. I need not say so much. It's quite obvious, right? Discords and oppositions. We must see first what life and the world are. Afterwards, we can all the better set about finding the right way to transform into what they should be. This just one sentence can help as a guideline. for action for life. We must first see what life and the world are just as they are, not according to how we imagine it to be or how we wish it to be, right? Or how it is promised that it will be. In the book 11 of Savitri, what is it called? The Eternal Day wala jo book hai, Soul's Choice and the Supreme Consummation. So there is a whole section in which Sri Aurobindo tells the future, how it will be, everything will be perfect, this will be, that will be. That has started happening. If one sees, one can find some of those things happening. In body and body kindled the sacred birth. Maybe there that line comes. So that inner divine, which is awakening inside people, you know, it is Dvija, that second birth, that divine birth, it is happening, but it is still not universal. And I mean, the utopia, that all kind of, it's not yet there. Okay, so we cannot imagine, we cannot function by imaginings or wishes or forecasts, right? We must see first what life and the world are. Afterwards, we can all the better set about finding the right way to transform them into what they should be. Look at the practicality, the practicalness of the guidance. Sri Aurobindo, if he appears, which he is, as a supreme idealist, he did say in one of his letters, Baptista karke ek the, he was asking him to come to the Congress or something. He said, I am an idealist to the marrow, he says. I am an idealist to the marrow. And therefore, this kind of politics will not suit me. I am not suitable for it. But at the same time, he is supremely practical. His idealism does not blind him to the realities of life and world as they are, right? He supported he sent soldiers in the First World War. There was a man called Haradhan Bakshi. He was a follower, a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. He went and fought in the First World War. Pavitrada fought in the First World War. Of course, he was not a disciple at that time. And then Haradhan came and joined the ashram. In the Second World War, he sent money to the government. And I mean, I have seen his letter. He said, I have sent my people to the war to fight, right? So anyway, if this repellent aspect of existence holds in self some secret of the final harmony, yes, this aspect of what? We shall, by ignoring or belittling it, it does contain an aspect. Uska secret batayenge, it will come. How it helps in the development of our nature and personality. It is necessary actually for the development, right? Ignoring or belittling it, miss that secret, and all our efforts at a solution will fail by fault of our self-indulgent ignoring of the true elements of the problem. Okay. If, on the other hand, it is an enemy to be beaten down, trampled on, excised, eliminated, this is building the argument, still we gain nothing by underrating its power and hold upon life. Don't we see fights going on everywhere, war going on everywhere, or refusing to see how firmly it is rooted in the effective past and the actually operative principles of existence. I do not recall exactly who said this or what were the exact words, but it was something like this. The whole of history, you can summarize it in the greatest wars that have happened in history. You can summarize it in that. Something like that was said. So, you know, that stark reality, and no matter how much you want to deny it, it's in your face. I was in Delhi before coming to Pondicherry on this trip. And on the day I left, the next day I landed here, I heard that a missile has been sent. It landed in Hisar, whatever it was, right? So what to do? Okay. Yeah, any questions, any sharings, any things to say in this? Otherwise, we can read the next one. Anybody?
Just one
Yes,
thing.
please. Yes, please.
This line is very, very important. God, adoring God as Shiva, but refusing to
Yes.
adore him as Rudra. Because
Yes.
this is the summation of the everything that
Yes.
take, as you said, take the world as it is and don't think it to be hunky-dory or
Yes.
like a diabetic mellitus, mellifluous. I think that's the Latin word is what my understanding is.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I could be wrong.
No, that is, but that is for the disease, yeah.
Yeah, that is
Mellifluous is not a Latin word. Mellifluous is an English word.
Acha. Because
Latin words, if are there, they are put in italics.
Acha. Because mellitus in
No,
biology.
let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yogesh?
This one, Anmol, this line,
Yes.
what is he indicating when he says, if this repellent aspect of existence holds in itself some secret of the final harmony?
Yeah.
So there is some secret of the final harmony, which is even, it's obvious even in this
He's
repellent
building the
aspect.
argument. We'll come to it. We'll come to it as we read. If we do
Okay.
not, then I will try to explain.
Done.
He's
Please.
basically building the argument here.
Okay.
Yeah. He's trying to convince us that you have to accept your life as a Kurukshetra. Anybody who does not do it is basically, is putting the blinders on himself deliberately.
Okay. Got it.
Everybody who is serious about life, they have to see this aspect of life. It is
So would you
not to say that the beautiful aspects and the delightful aspects are not there. They are there, but this is also there. Yes, sir. Tell me.
Would you then say that the religions like Christianity, and that's why they have Satan and separate?
Everybody has them. Who doesn't have?
No, not in the sense.
अहुरा माजदा और ahriman बोलते हैं, ठीक है?
हाँ,
और नहीं
correct,
पता?
correct.
हमारे यहाँ देवा है नसरा बोलते हैं. Ahura
नहीं,
Mazda and
वैसे
ahriman
है.
is the term of the Zoroastrian religion, right?
हाँ,
They
हाँ,
call
but
it Satan and whatever, angels. It's
हाँ,
like
correct.
Shaitan जो
Ahriman,
word है,
Ahriman is right.
yeah, the word shaitan comes from the word Satan only.
Satan only.
Because
Yes.
they have originated in the same region. So the similar kind of word is there. So everywhere it is there.
No,
The
but
struggle between the
what
dark
I'm
and the light forces of light and the forces of dark, it is there in all the mythologies.
no, but what I'm trying to point at is that not that, but they take it very separately, whereas in Hinduism it is kind of weaved in, because for Shiva,
In Hindu,
the Ganas and even the Asuras also worship Shiva.
yeah. Not only that, in Hinduism, there is the idea that they're essentially and ultimately they are children of the same mother. So, for example, Shiva Bindu अपने letter में quote करते हैं कि at one place in the Mahabharata, the Asuras are called the Purve Devah, the elder gods.
अच्छा.
हाँ, वो है, वो ज्यादा उसमें चला जाएगा, साइड ट्रैक हो जाएगा, but that it is there. When mother says that these are the powers that I have to transform, Savitri में lines हैं कि I'll share those lines कि the rebel sons, a mother's arms are there, open like this and waiting to embrace her rebel sons. What is that? All the negative side of all that side of existence which has gone towards opposition to the divine, and it has to be converted to the divine. Sri Aurobindo says this kind of negative energy for the ultimate purposes of the universe, its transformation towards the good is absolutely necessary. I'll share the letter.
So that means they are that only Hinduism says that they are looking for redemption.
Kind of, yeah. I'm not actually very that conversant with the other ones. मैंने पढ़ा नहीं है. Hinduism also है mostly, No,
in Life Divine, this is there, no? This in one of the earlier chapters.
Yes. In Hinduism, the idea of there having the common origin is there. Now, I don't know if that common origin thing is there other places or not.
No, to courageously accept that the anti-divine is also anti-divine is also divine in that sense.
Yes. Right. So shall we? अच्छा, belittling it, true elements. If ये तुमने पढ़ लिया है. So we can read the next one. War and destruction are not only a universal principle. Who will read? Swati, will you read? Are you there? नहीं. Kalpana ji? Nobody's reading. Dhaval bhai, you only read. Nobody's reading.
Yeah, okay.
Hello. No, sorry, I am on the way. And I am
Achha, no
attending
problem.
the-
No problem. Dhaval bhai is reading.
I'm confused. Who's reading?
No, Dhaval bhai, you are reading. Kalpana ji is on the way. She's traveling.
Achha. Sorry. Yeah. War and destruction are not only a universal principle of our life here in its purely material aspects, but also of our mental and moral existence. It is self-evident that in the actual life of man, intellectual, social, political, moral, we can make no real step forward without a struggle. So true. A battle between what exists and lives, and what seeks to exist and live, and between all that stands behind either. It is impossible, at least as men and things are, to advance, to grow, to fulfill, and still to observe really and utterly that principle of harmlessness which is yet placed before us as the highest and the best law of conduct.
Ahimsa Paramo Dharma.
Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, Jainism, right? We will use only soul force and never destroy by war or any even defensive employment of physical violence? Good. Though until soul force is effective, the, the Asuric force in men and nations tramples down, yeah, breaks, slaughters, burns, pollutes, as we see it doing today. That's so true. But then, at its ease and unhindered, yeah, and you have perhaps caused as much destruction of life by your abstinence as others by resort to violence. Still, you have set up an ideal which may someday and at any rate ought to lead up to better things. But even soul force, when it is effective, destroys. Hmm. Only those who have used it with eyes open know how much more terrible and destructive it is than the sword and the cannon. And only those who do not limit their view to act and its immediate results can see how tremendous are its after effects, how much is eventually destroyed, and with that much, all the life that depended on it and fed upon it. Evil cannot perish without the destruction of much of the lives that lives by the evil.
Much that lives by the
Much that lives by the evil. And it is no less destruction, even if we personally are saved the pain of a sensational act of violence. Wow.
Right. This chapter is written, ये कौन सा chapter है? Fifth chapter, na? So it is written in August, September, October, November, December 1916. So right in the middle of the First World War. Okay, that's when it is first written. War and destruction are only a universal principle of our life here in its purely material aspects, not only, but also of our mental and moral existence. All the conflicts about ideas and morals that we are constantly experiencing in our mental consciousness. It is self-evident that in the actual life, sankalpa vikalpa, for example, कि we make a resolution कि ये करना है and then cut. One vikalp comes and cuts it and we don't progress. This is one of the biggest problems which delays the progress. संकल्प अगर है तो फिर go ahead with the संकल्प, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. It is self-evident that in the actual life of man, intellectual, social, political, moral, we can make no real step forward without a struggle. I mean, all intellectuals, when they bring in a new idea, they are opposed. जो most famous example है, not intellectual but scientist. What was that man who was hanged for saying that it is heliocentric, not geocentric? Galileo.
Galileo.
He was hung for that. Just imagine. He was hung for saying the truth. Social. Yeah. I mean, the starkest example of this that I know is the Russian Revolution, because उसमें जो हुआ था, the the way the kings were slaughtered, and then a French Revolution भी उसके पहले, war, 7, 8 years just going on, and the king is having to run all that. Not that the king is purely good and the serfs and all are bad, but just that war. Any social change, any social revolution, I mean, political, वो तो even that's the worst of them all we know. Empire building, empire breaking. How many lives were spent to get the freedom of India? Moral. Hmm? We can make no real step forward without a struggle, a battle between what exists and lives and what seeks to exist and live. Basically, the progressive forces and the retrograde forces. This is how it has to be understood from the point of view of evolution. All that is taking the evolution and progress of humanity, earth, etc., forward, that is good, and all that is retrograde, that is bringing you back, that is evil. Right? A battle between what exists, lives, what seeks to exist and live, and between all that stands behind either. It is impossible. See, it is impossible, at least as men and things are, to advance, to grow, to fulfill, and still to observe really and utterly that principle of harmlessness, which is yet placed before us as the highest and best law of conduct. Now, here I will say this for the sake of information and completeness from my side. I have heard it first time from, there is a person called Shri Guru Rohit Arya on Facebook. So he says the full shloka is, मतलब first half, ahimsa paramo dharma, dharma hinsa tathaiva cha. But he did not give the reference wo kahan hai exactly. What it means is ahimsa is the paramo dharma, no doubt. Okay, but dharma hinsa tathaiva cha means for the protection of the dharma, hinsa is equally so. I don't know the reference, otherwise I would have shared it. I would not have said this in this, partly irresponsible manner. But I believe that, they would not be so, this thing, to just say ahimsa paramo dharma and not complete it by saying the other part, because for the sake of the dharma, hinsa has been necessary. Which avatar has not done hinsa? Parshuram, like I last said in the beginning of the class, ye jo Kurukshetra word hai na, he just made it red by killing all those Kshatriyas 21 times. Red the soil. Okay. Then Rama, obviously, all those Asuras in the Dandakaranya and all, Ravana's army, like that. And even then later on, his brother is going and fighting in Mathura, Lavanasur naam tha uska, Shatrughan. So the battle is going on constantly. Krishna, we know right from the beginning, from infancy till end. So, and in modern times, again, if you see Sri Aurobindo that way, I
So,
mean,
Anmol
kind
bhai,
of battle,
Jainism also says this, no? Even today, Jainism principle is also one of the
this
biggest.
mainly comes from Jainism.
Ahimsa Paramo Dharma is,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
Jainism.
And Gandhiji was heavily inspired by Jainism. Highly. He was inspired by Jainism because he was Gujju Baniya, basically. Sorry. And क्या बोलते हैं उसको? Russian Christianity. So Sri Aurobindo says he's a Russian Christian in an Indian body.
I think he was inspired by Tolstoy more than.
That's what. But he says he's a Russian Christian in an Indian body. Of Tolstoy, I don't know whether Tolstoy was inspired by Russian Christianity or not, but both. He says Tolstoy and he says he's a Russian Christian in an Indian body. And the disciple is quite shocked. Oh my God, you're saying Gandhi is a Christian? He said, yes. He does not know the true principles of Hinduism. He wrote a commentary on the Gita. Thankfully, I have not read it. So, anyway, enough Gandhi bashing goes on elsewhere. अभी उनका पॉजिटिव वाला मैं यहाँ नहीं बताऊंगा. I'll put it on the group. What mother has said positive regarding him. Okay. Okay. So we will use only. But what were we saying? कुछ रह गया था क्या बीच में? धर्म हिंसा तथैव च. That's. But I don't know the source. It comes in the Mahabharata. Ahimsa paramo dharma certainly comes. And Jainism and Vaishnavism ना, वो दोनों उसमें काफी similarity भी आ जाता है. Like that. Therefore, this whole idea of forgiveness and ahimsa is to be practiced by the yogi. Okay. So Sri Aurobindo did not say the sadhaks in his ashram to go and fight. No. They have taken to spiritual life. Okay. Raman Maharshi also silently supported what was going on, war वगैरह जो था. All true yogis understand. But they're not saying to their disciples go and fight. They are practicing ahimsa. And Sri Aurobindo kind of disbarred politics ki yahan mat karo ye sab discussion. You have made the aim of your life as spiritual, so focus on that. For the spiritual man, ahimsa is necessary. That way. For his, he has to rise to that consciousness of oneness. So according to your dharma, the thing kind of varies. Basically. Arjuna is being asked to do something very difficult.
But that is why in all spiritual traditions, ahimsa is something disregarded, as this thing. That is why probably, right? Disregarded in the sense it should not, if you have to attain to the highest, it is implied that you should not be doing ahimsa. It is kind of an implication.
Not be doing hinsa, you should say.
Sorry. My mistake.
In fact, that reminds the Raja Yoga hai, the Ashtanga Yoga. So उसमें one of the principles is ahimsa. जो यमा नियम होता है,
हाँ पतंजलि का,
अहिंसा, सत्य, अस्तेय, ब्रह्मचर्य, ईश्वर प्राणिधान, शौच, तपस, स्वाध्याय, and but ahimsa is one of those 10 words which are there, 10 things important. Ahimsa is one of them. Without these as the basis, nobody can succeed in yoga. Vivekananda says somewhere. Yeah. Okay. We will use only soul force and never destroy by war or any even defensive employment of physical violence. Good. Though until soul force is effective, the Asuric force in men and nations tramples down. This is what I said last time also. This
Correct.
was Gandhiji's advice to the English. Oh, lay down your arms and let your power of ahimsa melt the heart of Herr Hitler. And you know what Sri Aurobindo said? Even a blast furnace or something like एक वो जो bomb है ना उसका जितना furnace का energy होता है even that cannot melt the heart of Hitler. This is what Sri Aurobindo commented. So the Asura is absolutely stark in his ways, and he was by himself nothing, but he was under the influence of a very dangerous power.
Can you elaborate soul force, and in this context, what does Sri Aurobindo mean by soul force, and the subsequent line which follows, like it is
आगे जा करके आएगा when he will give the example of Vashishta and Vishwamitra.
No, yeah, okay. If you can just give some example right now to grasp the word, basically. What exactly he means when he says soul force?
I don't know actually. Maybe the power of tolerance. You just keep on bearing it, and then something boomerangs upon the adversary. Something like that. The power of toleration, I am saying. Titiksha. In the spiritual development in the Samatha also, Titiksha is the first thing.
So are you saying soul force is Titiksha?
One of them is Titiksha. Soul force ka one of the things is Titiksha.
Perhaps, Anmol, we can also look at it as the Ichha Shakti,
Yes.
which is kind of a mental formation that eventually comes out when you have that
Yes.
strong will.
Yes.
There is a
Yes.
formation that will come out, whether you become the
Yes.
instrumentality or not, that's a separate discussion.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the sheer when souls of higher levels of consciousness have a clear directive,
True.
as Vivekanand ji said, that French Revolution could have been caused by the thought waves of a yogi sitting in Himalayas.
Yes. The power of mental tapasya, the power gained through that. अगले पैराग्राफ में जो विश्वामित्र और वशिष्ठ वाला एग्जाम्पल है ना, when we come to that and deliberate on that, because that is a very fascinating example. Perhaps we can,
maybe you can explain the story.
yeah, we'll read till 9:10 today. We started late. Yeah. Until soul force is effective, the Asuric force in men and nations tramples down, breaks, slaughters, burns, pollutes, as we see it doing today. As I said, December 1916. But then at its ease and unhindered, and you have perhaps caused as much destruction of life by your abstinence as others by resort to violence. Yes. This is what Arjuna would have done if he would not have fought. They would have just trampled over the Pandava army. Still, you have set up an ideal which may someday and at any rate ought to lead up to better things. So he's not denying that ahimsa is the paramo dharma, no doubt. You have set up an ideal by your this thing. But the condition of the world being what it is right now, you need to do your bit of fighting where necessary. Even Krishna tried to avoid war. Till the end, he was avoiding. He didn't want it. He went as an emissary. He gave the option of 5 villages when he was told not even as much as a needle. Then he's like, okay, nothing doing. One cannot give up one's rights just like this. But even soul force, when it is effective, destroys. Only those who have used it with eyes open know how much more terrible and destructive it is than the sword and the cannon. And only those who do not limit their view to the act and its immediate results can see how tremendous are its after effects, how much is eventually destroyed, and with that much, all the life that depended on it and fed upon it. Just take example, Sri Aurobindo used the Rudra force once or twice, but it had disastrous effects. So he didn't use it later on. Somebody told him he was being calumniated by one's disciple. I won't say the name here. I mean, I can. He's no more. Harendranath Chattopadhyay. So he was a disciple living in the ashram. He was a big poet and all. But then sex ki bahut problem thi unko. He could not survive in the ashram. He could not live. He went back. And then he started, calumniating Sri Aurobindo. He was Sarojini Naidu's younger brother. Ulta सीधा बोलने लगा. Dilip was very angry. Dilip Kumar Roy. He said, why don't you do something? What is this? Like this is not, he cannot, मतलब गुरु द्रोह की भी कोई सीमा होती है. So Sri Aurobindo said, I have used Rudra force on 1 or 2 occasions and it has had disastrous effects. मतलब I don't know what it does basically. One example I can give, I mean, just out of my, mind like this. So there was a sadhak called Nayak, Dr. Nayak. His correspondence is there, it comes in the bulletin. Nowadays it's coming or not, I don't know. He shouted at the mother. He shouted at the mother strongly. Something he said. And that's, that famous incident. Sri Aurobindo got angry and he said, who is it that is shouting at the mother? Only once. And I'm telling you, that man's name got erased from the ashram history. Not that deliberately, but वो just erase हो गया. कोई बात नहीं, कुछ नहीं, as if the soul has been effaced. It's a very poor example, I know, but मेरे को एक strike किया कि he invoked the ire of that and थक वो जो श्री अरविंदो के उससे निकल के आया with that power of his was just gone. And I'm not saying that कोई शाप वाप मिल गया था, nothing of the sort. Even when he left the ashram, Mother and Sri Aurobindo told him that our protection will be with you, all that. But somehow that occult effect of that happened. It cannot but happen. Am I just saying here? This is why the utterances of the avatars now, they are very, very careful. अगर वो ये बोल दे कि ये होना चाहिए, this should happen, and if it doesn't happen, there are disastrous consequences. If the divine says you do this, this should happen, and you don't do it, then phew, what to say? That's why they don't say such things. They're very careful. तुलसीदास का एक याद आ रहा है, इनडायरेक्टली रिलेटेड, गुरु अवज्ञा तुरत भवानी, कर कल्याण अखिल के हानि. If you do guru avagya, anyway, related, not directly related, evil cannot perish without the destruction of much that lives by the evil, and it is no less destruction even if we personally are saved, the pain of a sensational act of violence. I think when we dwell on the Vishwamitra Vashisht thing, this will become clear. It should become clear. Do we have time? We have like 15-16 minutes. We can read that.
Maybe Anmol bhai, if you can read and explain simultaneously so that this kind of completes the lid on soul.
Should I do that? Haan, chalo, otherwise it won't be. It will be left for Friday.
Yeah.
Anybody else wishes to read? In that case, we will have to stretch by 5 minutes, but it's not fair. Only few people read. Anybody wants to read? Or should I just read? Koi to bolo bhai. Nobody. Okay. Moreover, every time we use soul force, we raise a great force of karma against our adversary, the after movements of which we have no power to control. Vasishtha uses soul force against the military violence of Vishwamitra, and armies of Huns and Shakas and Pallavas hurl themselves on the aggressor. I'll come to this. The very quiescence and passivity of the spiritual man under violence and aggression awakens the tremendous forces of the world to a retributive action. This is what I said, na? Quiescence and passivity. जो मैंने आपसे बोला था ना, तितिक्षा. So maybe this is why that word was coming to my mind.
हाँ, मतलब अगर कोई
सहन शक्ति,
spiritual आदमी को तंग करे,
हाँ,
उनको तंग करे तो फिर नेचर अपने आप
yes, exactly. वो बूमरैंग करता है उस पे. जैसे वो कृत्या होती है ना तांत्रिक की.
अच्छा, इसलिए
तांत्रिक throws his kritya at somebody and it doesn't succeed. It comes back and kills the tantric himself.
What is kritya? Sorry, I don't know.
Kritya is a kind of demoness created from the yajna, and it is thrown to kill somebody. But if it is not able to meet the object, then it comes back and kills the person who sent her. कृष्णा को मारने के लिए कंस ने भिजवाई थी by one tantric, and then that kritya boomerang, and रामानंद सागर वाले सीरियल में तो ऐसे ही दिखाया था, and then tantric basically he became लंगड़ा लूला and gunga type. Yeah, now I remember. This is why I must have said Titiksha. The very quiescence and passivity of the spiritual man under violence and aggression awakens the tremendous forces of the world to a retributive action. See,
that
the world is being... There can be earthquakes. There can be all kinds of things.
That means
we have to actually realize that there are gods and cosmic powers at work and they are watching.
That means exactly. So that means if you are oppressing, even like...
And Saska is not on the call here, so I might say she is British. Okay, agenda में एक जगह mother ने बोला, and this is absolutely confidential, but she says it there. She said the island is going to sink. The England, she says.
Yeah, Britain is going to sink because
and before that she says, Satremko, she says, between you and me, it's not the Germans who are our enemies, it is the British, because they were so brutal. And they were so brutal towards
Yeah, in
India. I mean,
fact,
the way I read it directly was this: they were absolutely horrendous towards India. India, who had not known famines for God knows how long, 7 famines were there in their rule, and some of them artificially created by them. कितने लोग मरे हैं यार?
yeah,
ये वो कंट्री है जहां
and
पे
in
एक रोटी
famines,
मेरे पास है, मैं आधी बांट के अपने नेबर से खा लूंगा, कोई भूखा नहीं मरेगा. But that is
हम
what they succeeded in doing. So how can they
इसीलिए
not sink? I mean, I'm
इन
sorry, I'm crossing the line,
नहीं
but
नहीं
you know, I
इवन
share the
ड्यूरिंग,
mother's reference. I'm
हाँ
not
हाँ
saying this of
प्लीज,
my own this thing.
नहीं है, and I've read that part somewhere. I don't remember the book, but
Agenda है.
even during famine they were collecting taxes and farmers were doing suicide. तो इनकी जो हम लोग हिंदी में बोलते हैं हाय
In the
लग गई है,
Second World War, why there was a Bengal famine? Because सारा वो जो food grains थे, they had stored it for their soldiers लड़ने के लिए, और यहाँ लोग भूखे मर रहे हैं, and they just let them die.
हाय लग
I'm
गई
talking
बोलते हैं
about
ना हम लोग.
1943 or thereabouts.
Is this same as हाय लग गई? मतलब एक
No,
नेचर,
it's what Sri Aurobindo is saying here. Awakens the tremendous forces of the world to a retributive action. So they're going to basically, you can say Hai Lag Gai is a very colloquial way of saying it. It is the
yeah, very
occult. It is the
simplistic way of
karmic.
saying.
See, to
Yeah,
every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Like that.
yeah,
So
that's
होगा ही
why.
होगा.
That's why he says in the earlier line, great force of karma against our adversaries, after moments of which we have no power to control. Yeah,
I want to come back to that Vishwamitra and Vashishta thing. So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yes. And it may even be more merciful to stay in their path, though by force, those who represent evil, than to allow them to trample on until they call down on themselves a worse destruction than we would ever think of inflicting. Just imagine. And what compassion also actually from the divine. That way. Otherwise, the destruction will be जिसको बोलते हैं ना root and branch. पिछले पैराग्राफ में बोला था ना कि we do not know how much more tremendous are its after effects. Basically, soul force is higher, right? Spiritual force is higher than material force. So the more subtler the level from which the action is being done, the more powerful it will be. Okay. It is not enough that our own hands should remain clean and our souls unstained for the law of strife and destruction to die out of the world. That which is its root must first disappear out of humanity. This is clear. Much less will mere immobility and inertia, unwilling to use or incapable of using any kind of resistance to evil, abrogate the law. Inertia, tamas, indeed injures much more than can the Rajasic principle of strife, which at least creates more than it destroys. So tamas is destructive. Rajas is creative, tamas is destructive, and sattva gives a balance.
This means, in other words, here he is saying the same thing, right? That if you stay quiet, you are doing more harm than. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Shiva is said to be tamasic. Vishnu is said to be sattvic. Brahma is said to be rajasic. Based on this, that it is rajas which creates, tamas which destroys, and sattva which maintains the balance. Therefore, so far as the problem of the individual's action goes, his abstention from strife and its inevitable concomitant destruction in their more gross and physical form may help his own moral being, but it leaves the slayer of creatures unabolished. Slayer of creatures with capital S, I guess, is, that principle in nature which, has to slay things for things to go forward. वो principle नहीं खत्म होगा उससे.
It may help his moral being. मतलब मैं
Yes.
अच्छा but
For your own this thing, yeah. I didn't do anything. मुझे कोई पाप नहीं लगा. मैंने कुछ गलत नहीं किया. मैं निर्लिप्त रहा. नहीं, तुम लिप्त
What
हुए.
is the
Because you have
word?
done more harm by your inaction than you would have done by your action.
Correct.
So
The
moreover,
word
every time
in-
we use soul force, we raise a great force of karma against our adversary, the after movements of which we have no power to control. Vashishta uses soul force against the military violence. So this is a reference to that story. It's called the Ideal of Forgiveness. It's there in the Bengali writings of Sri Aurobindo. Some people know about it. Vishwamitra, sorry. So Vishwamitra was a king, okay, and he once visited Vashishta's ashram with his whole army and all, and Vashishta treated him to all kinds of hospitality through the Kamadhenu, Nandini, okay, and Vishwamitra, such a cow should be the possession of a king, not of a mere sage. So you give it to me. And Vashishta said, she is here, not because I ask her to be here, she wants to be here. It's not you. If you want, you can take her. You try. आपका बस चलता है तो. And he tries and he doesn't succeed. And then basically Vishwamitra goes into a rage. Okay. उनका पहले का नाम है गाधी पुत्र. Gadhi is his father's name. Vishwamitra is a name I think he gets later on. Kaushika is also one of his names. मुझे नाम नहीं याद आ रहा, but he's basically a king earlier on, right? Anyway, so he attacks Vasishtha with all his army. He kills all the 100 sons of Vasishtha, and in defense, they say that from that Kamadhenu emerged these warriors who fought against the army of Vishwamitra, and Vishwamitra is ultimately defeated. But now, okay, this is I'm saying the fascinating part. Sri Aurobindo is using here the words Huns and Shakas and Pallavas. Now, who are these? These are the tribes which are coming from the northwest, isn't it? Acha, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra had their ashram near what was in that time the Saraswati, जो अभी छुप गई है. Ghaggar, that is the surviving remnant of that in Haryana. So that Saraswati which flowed from Haryana into Rajasthan and then went into the run of Kutch in Gujarat. That is where they had this settlement. And the northwest is towards that side. So now, I mean, in history at least, as it is, we are taught very poor history, but I mean, Purano वगैरह में क्या लिखा है regarding the Huns and Shakas and Pallavas, I don't know. But this seems to be even a historical reference is what I'm saying. And what I'm understanding is कि वो नंदिनी के अंदर से वो warriors निकलने का, that is more symbolic. What would have happened is कि against this military violence of Vishwamitra, Vasishtha was not able to do much. But then Vishwamitra was attacked and attacked fiercely and decimated by these invading Huns and Shakas and Pallavas. This is my educated guess. And this, I mean, I know it's a little far-fetched because there is no proof from my side. Okay, historically, yes. But what else can it mean? I want to also discuss with, the learned people of this group. But this is an example. Okay, the questions basically of, because Vasishtha is a rishi. He is living in that ahimsa and all that, he's living in that consciousness. So he does not retaliate. But it comes upon Vishwamitra and he is decimated. But this example, the way Sri Aurobindo has used it, I mean, I don't know whether he has used his Trikaladrishti to write this. If he would not write it so openly. Sri Aurobindo is extremely careful. Visions of Trikaladrishti and the records of that, of previous Manvantras, it is there, but it is there in record of yoga, his private diary. You can find their references. He says there is a horse-like animal. It's not exactly a horse. So it's some species which look like a horse. Manvantras, पिछले manvantron का mention है, you'll find in the record of yoga. But to make it part of something so public as the Arya and Siddhanta Gita, I am not sure. I mean, so we don't have too much time also left for today. What do we think, regarding this?
And that means any person who participates.
Yogesh bhai?
Yes, I was saying, what is the meaning of the word concomitant? It says in the last line.
Concomitant means
that which follows.
Which follows, yeah.
Okay.
Or concomitant in medical, they say it's a concomitant disease. It follows that.
Inevitable concomitant destruction. Concomitant means that which follows.
Okay, thanks.
Go to the root of it. But essentially, this is the idea that the non-resistance on the part of the spiritual man, the effects of that on the aggressor, they are even worse. Examples we are poorly lacking, I know. We'll have to think of more examples of this.
No, but Anmol,
just one thing here,
yes.
Anmol,
yes.
when we look at the Mahabharata as a reference, the fact that firstly, Arjun was a master, he was a master archer, right? And then he had Krishna guiding him. So here he says that when you go into the Rajasic activity of strife, what he's encouraging is that even with the limited potential you may have, with whatever be the negative forces, you've got to assemble whatever best resources you have and retaliate or obstruct that. So there is no talk about any divine guidance coming to people who take that step. And all the references that you talked about when we went through the famine, even if people, they were only suffering, whatever they may have done, you can clearly see the oppressor in charge, right? So here I was thinking that even when you take resistance, even if you're in that Rajasic element of strife, shouldn't there be some divine intervention to help? Because he's guiding you to say that rather than inaction, action is better, and you should take that path. But there is
It
no
was
talk of
happening. It was happening. I mean, they were already like Subhash Chandra Bose. He had started an offensive 1940 के आसपास शुरू कर दिया था. It was there, कि don't just take it lying down, oppose them, and revolutionaries and all this kind of people. They were acting in their own way. But I mean, it is Gandhi who was dominating the national scene. He
So,
was like,
will it be appropriate to say that he led it into tamas? Gandhiji led the entire Indian mass
he
into
was a
tamas.
little impractical in his this thing and very dictatorial in his application of his policies. आज भी क्या होता है, मेरी बात मानो नहीं तो मैं भूख हड़ताल करूंगा. That is what they do in India still. That is still coming from Gandhi. It's dictatorial basically. It's violence actually. What he did to his body by all those fasts and all, it is actually also a kind of violence if you want to see.
Yeah.
I mean, we should not focus exclusively on him as if he is the only culprit or focal point. It's a poor type of intellectuality and poor not right way to go about
No,
it.
but India was
Example wise.
Indian people were in tamas, and
Somebody
lot of
was
people.
telling me recently, just sharing it, that he actually heard an Akashvani that if Gandhiji's photo is removed from the currency notes, then India will actually become very prosperous very fast. He said it's like an अपशकुन. He said मेरे को आकाशवाणी में सुनाई दिया है. मैं भगवान कसम झूठ नहीं बोल रहा. I heard it from somebody.
My God.
Told me. Yes. And somebody whom I don't consider insane, quite normal. Devotee of Sri Aurobindo. But he said कि उनकी photo बस उसमें से हटा दो. It's like a message from the gods. And he said India will become prosperous automatically. Anyway. हम थोड़ा भटक रहे हैं. Our topic is not this. Our topic is Kurukshetra and all this. So I've
So
heard
the
that on
summation
the
of this
currency notes of Indonesia, Ganesha is printed, I've heard.
Yeah, Ganesha. Yeah, I was about
I've
to
never
say that.
seen. No.
Yeah, in Indonesian notes, Ganesha is there. That's what I've heard. And also, Anmol bhai, so the takeaway from this paragraph is this, that कि भाई inertia, titiksha ho, but then you unleash just your forbearance will automatically unleash the karmic action by retribution by nature. That's one. And secondly, we should not take it lying down, as you said. We should fight back, and I think that's what Modi is also doing right now. Again, I'm going back to politics because that's the hottest thing right now, but that's so applicable.
Yeah. He's absolutely, he's on the war front. We should, I'll try to think of more examples. Everybody can think of more examples of this. In principle, obviously,
this appears.
Huh?
This not only then applies to the country related context, but even at
applies to everything.
Collective of a family,
everything.
Family, individual, everything.
Everything. The oppressor, unopposed or opposed by moral force or soul force, he is going to get it back 100 times more. ये जो लिखा है ना यहाँ पे, awakens the tremendous forces of the world to a retributive action. I mean, what more stark example could I have given? Somehow, I don't know why I am so this thing today revealing. Island ही डूबने वाला है यार इंग्लैंड के बारे में मदर ने, and the way she said it. And she said the English overstayed. They were not supposed to stay so long in India. This was not the divine plan. They were brought to India so that India will also recover some of its true materialism. Okay. Synthesis of Yoga में साफ लिखा है. This is why this country of sannyasins was brought into contact with a totally opposite civilization. He writes that. So that scientific temper, that respect for matter, that basically thinking mind, which is the link between the body and the spirit, which had been lost in the medieval period. To recover all that, the Europeans were brought to India. But they were not supposed to stay 200 years. They overstayed, mother says.
Yeah, and somewhere in the mother also writes the karmic load is too high, no? That's where she says the entire island will, under the karmic weight, will go
ये
down.
तो मैंने नहीं पढ़ा है उसमें, but she does say that it will go down. Anyway, ये बहुत ही वो हो रहा है. We'll just let
Control.
it be on Google Drive. Otherwise, you might get into trouble. Anyway. ठीक है. Sorry for not having better examples for today's this thing topic. Do you think of more examples on our own?
No, but yeah, it's important. This chapter somehow prepares.
It's a
It's
very
not
important and fundamental chapter.
actually at a psychological level.
All that
I can.
mellifluity in us, mellifluousness, or
Yes,
yoga means
exactly.
being soft,
So
yoga
हाँ,
means being this.
वो
Yes, it does.
saintly
हाँ,
stand नहीं लेना
हाँ,
है is
हाँ,
basically
हाँ,
is
हाँ.
what it
It
means.
depends on what you are called to do. You're not, you know, and it depends on what is your position in life and society and whatever, and basically what you are expected to do. It depends on that.
नहीं,
For a
basically
sadhak,
if your
perhaps,
self-respect if your
for a sadhak, this
self-respect
would
is
apply
being
to the inner
damaged.
war. For a pure sadhak, whose aim in life is
Yeah.
to change his nature and whose aim is swarajya, inner victory, become a swami and all that inwardly, for him it will be the inner war. I mean, for somebody who is extending it, but it's actually inner and outer cannot be separated. वो साथ में चलता ही चलता है. You
So
fight
that
the
is why
inner
I'm
war
saying
and you have to fight the external war also. So
there is a very thin line between ego and self-respect. No, Anmol bhai.
yeah,
Right now it
very true.
is self-respect of
You know,
India,
I'm
right?
taking this as an occasion to share. Some pseudo gurus, what they do is they actually beat your self-esteem to dust in the name of getting you rid of your ego. वो कहीं का नहीं छोड़ते आपको. मैंने ऐसी लोगों की बायोग्राफीज पढ़ी हैं. They just beat your self-esteem into dust and they just then do with you what they like. Nothing gives more high than having power over human beings, चाहे वो कोई भी हो, चाहे politician हो, चाहे fake guru हो. But in the case of a fake guru, the papa is even more. They do this.
Mm-hmm. But self-esteem, even Gita says, no, Atmane Atmana Ripu Atmane Atmano, that sixth
उसका वो
chapter.
मतलब नहीं है. That's not what it
So,
means. Atmaiva
okay.
Atmano Bandhu, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha means you yourself are your friend and you yourself are your enemy. So better be
Right. So
your own
if you
friend.
that is true. But if you judge your self-respect, then you are yourself your own enemy, because now
Self respect
you
वाला part जो है ना, self esteem and वो वाला, that comes in the second chapter when Krishna tells him that you're a kshatriya and those who were thinking of you very greatly, now they will think of you lowly. संभावितस्य चा कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते. तो संभावित means he who is having some prestige.
he will
संभावितस्य च
be
अकीर्तिः.
insulted.
अगर ऐसे वेल रिस्पेक्टेड
You
मैन की अगर अकीर्ति हो जाए, मरणादतिरिच्यते, worse than death.
it's worse than death. Correct. Insult. Akirti is worse than death. That is correct.
संभावितस्य चा कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते. This is the shloka, half a shloka, second chapter में.
But wouldn't when we use the word self means khud, atma. So wouldn't you say that psychologically, modern psychologists say that if you let your self-respect go, then you will be ending up yourself into depression. And
Yes,
once
correct.
depression is a negative word, right? So that means you have become your own enemy.
Yeah, you have
become
to
your own ripu,
have that. Yes,
right?
yes, definitely. There's no doubt about it. And for that, if you have to fight, you have to fight. In the name of sadhana, one does not have to become a plaything of other people's evil intentions.
Correct. Correct.
And sometimes the evil intentions are not even very conscious. It's kind of subconscious human nature at play.
Very true. Very true.
So, yeah.
वो समझ में भी नहीं आता है, और कई बार होता है फिर भी you remain in an ignorant manner कि नहीं, ये तो अच्छा ही कर रहा है, ये तो मेरा बॉस रहेगा तो अच्छा ही करेगा ना. But that doesn't work that way.
Right. So anything else, or should we just be silent?
There was a reference to Vashishta
Yes.
in the note that you sent us on the chat group,
Yes.
where it says, the cow of plenty, and it
Yes.
says that. So, if
It's
considering we
wonderful.
talk about, yeah, if you could just elaborate that of what's the reference of Vashishta in that note.
Oh, the cow of plenty basically means the Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is like, Kama means desire, Dhenu means cow. So that sort of mythical or imaginary cow from which you can get whatever you want. उसको ट्री के फॉर्म में बोलते हैं तो कल्प वृक्ष बोलते हैं कि द विश yielding tree. So what he's saying here is this is very important actually. If you cannot be the slave of all mankind, thou art not to be its master. And if you cannot make your nature as Vasishta's cow of plenty, with all mankind to draw its wish from her udders. So basically, you should be able to give to people whatever they wish. आपको विश्व के लिए, लोगों के लिए कामधेनु की तरह होना चाहिए. What
Right.
avails thy leonine supermanhood? फिर तुम्हारे सुपरमैनहुड का क्या फायदा? What is the use of that divinity? What is the use of that divine consciousness if you cannot give people what they want? ये बहुत, kingly, this is a Rajarshi speaking, I'm telling you. And again, he clarifies that Superman is not Nietzsche Superman. That is the Asuric Superman. That is a Superman of power. No, 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 no. The real Superman is one who is having the divine consciousness. The word may be whatever, but the real supermanhood is that which is having the divine consciousness. वो ऐसे है. Either I'll share the link to that article. That will make it clear. Be to the
Yeah,
world,
do
blah blah.
please share the
As the
link.
cow in quiet forbearing and maternal. Again those words ना, quiet forbearing. वही आ रहा है उसमें जो हमने उसमें essays on the Gita में पढ़ा है. Similar sort of thing.
Right.
Clear करना.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we just be silent for some half a minute? Okay. Okay, so for those who will wish to attend on Wednesday at 8 p.m. we'll be reading Savitri. So far there is a yes from Dhaval ji, Dhaval bhai, Yogesh and Ritu ji and myself. Stop.